The third thing I want to talk about is listening. Now, one of the things that leaders are usually great at is talking, because most people get into a leadership position by being able to articulate. It's one of the management skills, and we're taught a lot about making presentations in public. We talk to about how to present ourselves in meetings. We talk to about how to present ourselves in front of clients and so on. So we're taught to talk. In fact, we're being taught to speak from, knee-high to a grasshopper. So you're taught a lot about how to talk. And there are certain ways of presenting yourself like I am doing now on a stage, and there are ways of presenting yourself one-to-one or in meetings or whatever. But no one ever teaches you about listening. And it's interesting that we've got one mouth and we've got two ears, and yet we tend to use them in the inverse proportion. In fact, I've watched people in meetings, and I can see that they're not listening. They're just waiting for a gap so they can start to talk. And you often think when they've finished their comment, you think, well, they clearly didn't listen to something that was said 2 or 3 minutes back because they had the answer then. You've been there. So in essence, one of the things in great leadership is about being able to listen. And I think there's a great danger in management, and particularly in senior leadership, that you get fed on a diet of what you want to hear. And people who work for you come and tell you how well things are going. That's not because they're evil and corrupt people. It's because people want to show you that they're working hard, and generally they are. And they want to tell you the good stuff that's happening, because at their review, it's pretty important that you know about it. What they tend not to do is come and tell you some of the things that are falling off and not going so well. Unless there's a big disaster, in which case they definitely want to tell you. Yeah? So you're fed on quite a strange diet of information as a leader if you're up at the top of an organisation. One of the things I did as an executive is I spent one of my days each week out of 5 days, and my diary was busy, let me tell you, as I'm sure all of yours is. I spent 1 day out of 5, a fifth of my time, listening to people at the grassroots and saying, what's going on? What are you hearing? What's going well? What's going badly? What do we need to fix? I found that the most useful piece of time I ever spent. The final thing is perhaps a little peculiar in my list. I think people need to have fun. And I think giving people permission to have fun at work makes a massive difference. What team have you ever seen in a workplace where there's no crack, it's pretty miserable and it's a grind, and yet they're massive high performers? It doesn't happen. When you see a team that's happy, they have a bit of a joke, they have a laugh, there's a bit of banter in the team, morale's generally high, they're generally high-performing people. Surprise, surprise then, that we tend to make work feel quite formalised. And I think giving people permission to have fun, to be themselves, to express their personality and to bring themselves to work rather than just their employee bit makes a massive difference. And we used to have a phrase, and I think it's very powerful, that work made fun gets done. And I think if a big, tough, challenging project can be made fun, it will go faster and it will go better. And I think having fun on the job really matters. Why do people at the end of a big project go and have a big blast at the pub or whatever it happens to be? It's because they want to let off steam. And having those human dynamics in the workplace make a massive difference. Let me talk to you about Len. Len came to work for Asda as a trolley porter in one of our stores on the southwest coast. And Len had been a docker all his life. For 40 years he'd worked in the docks. And he worked in a pretty miserable environment. It was depressed, it was in decline, it was heavy industry, and there'd certainly been no modern engagement techniques. He'd just gone to work. Now, Len was a thoroughly nice guy, quite an extrovert, and we decided to employ him in his 60th year as a trolley porter. So here's this docker who's got quite a good personality, comes to work for Asda for the first time and is given permission to have fun and to express himself and to be himself. Now, you might think, a trolley porter in a store, what impact can he possibly have? Okay? It's the lowest job in the whole supermarket food chain. Who wants to be out in January pushing trolleys around a car park? Certainly not me. Now, Len was so good at pushing trolleys and looking after customers that he won the store the Disabled Customer Award, whatever that is. There is a national award, apparently, and he won it for Asda. This little guy, employed in his 60th year, never worked in retailing before, was able to express his personality and have a bit of fun with the customers, a bit of banter, and we won a national award. He then decided that because he was able to express himself in the business, and he was very concerned about a local charity for kids that were terminally ill, and he wanted to actually support a local hospice. And he decided that he would start to run marathons. Never run before. And Len has run, I think, 6 marathons now, and he's raised about £250,000 to build an extension onto this hospice down in the southwest of England. And Asda has got all the acclaim and the fame from that. One little man, 2 nationally acclaimed awards, just by having fun at work and expressing his personality. It's extraordinary what can happen when you hire the right kind of people, you lead them in the right way, and you allow people to become bigger than they might otherwise have been. Now, you might be a cynic, you might be ambivalent, you might be a real fan of this kind of stuff. Let me just give you one final sort of outro fact that might actually help you if you're cynical or neutral about how important engagement is in the performance of your business. One of the things I did when I was in Asda is that I took all the store P&Ls, 360 of them, and that's 19 billion turnover, and I put all the engagement survey scores from all those stores, and Gallup went off and analysed it for us in the US in a big computer and gobbled all that data. And I was looking for a sweet spot that said, if you get your engagement to a certain level, is there a sweet spot, and is there a point beyond which your P&L will start to outperform? And they went away for a couple of months and did all the analysis, and they came back and said to me, David, there's a strong positive correlation. No real surprise, because all the Harvard studies on companies that have been done over a long, long period of time would say exactly that. There is a strong correlation between the level of engagement of people in a company and the P&L performance. And they said, in your case, your sweet spot, and our survey results ran between about 70 and 98. Our sweet spot was 92. So I was able to say to the store managers, if you can get your engagement at 92 or greater, and many of them could, you will deliver outperformance, you'll be delivering super bonus, and you will be in the superstar quadrant. And I think the link between the engagement of people and the commercials is commercially proven, and yet many companies kind of almost have got that intellectually but don't actually operate it as leaders. And I think the potential of this company is that you've got some reasonably good scores. You could be truly great. So my challenge to you would be, how great do you think you could become? How great do you want to become? And are there any things that I've said that resonate with you that you might be able to use as leaders to actually take you to that higher level of engagement so that your people really outperform?